Welcome to Qaqortoq in Greenland in September 2022. Hey everyone, I'm Patrick from Oakland Travel. Got the drone up in the air. This was one of only 2 stops on this 14-night Arctic repositioning cruise for the Voyager of the Seas from Royal Caribbean, where I was able to put the drone up and actually get some footage. We went out of Copenhagen, Denmark, and then we stopped over in Kristiansand, Norway, and I was able to put the drone up over there, get some good footage. And then we went to Qaqortoq in Iceland and Reykjavik in Iceland, and I took the drone with me on at least one of those 2 stops, but we were doing these huge, like 8-hour shore excursions where it was very, very guided. We were on a bus with a whole bunch of other people. And on top of that, of course, it was raining. Iceland, you know, if you know anything about Iceland, their weather and everything. So I wasn't able to get any drone footage in Iceland. But Qaqortoq was our only stop in Greenland on this cruise where we actually got off the ship and got onto land. We were supposed to stop at Nuuk, but September 2022, you were still in the COVID-related stuff, right? Quote unquote, the stuff, where you had all the protocols and everything, and it was enough of a problem that as we were getting closer and closer to the cruise in summer of 2022, that the Nuuk stop that was on the cruise, they canceled it. Because I guess just Nuuk didn't want possibility of COVID, so whatever. So this Qaqortoq right here was the only place in Greenland where we actually set foot in Greenland. It's our only stop. But thankfully, I was able to put the drone up, as you can see. The Voyager of the Seas is straight back that way where all that fog is. It's anchored offshore because Qaqortoq does not have a cruise terminal. They might eventually build one because it seems like they've got the place for it, but they just don't have one, or at least they didn't as of this cruise. So we had to use the tender boats, which was a pretty cool process. And once they got the tenders running, it wasn't bad. I think we ended up making 2 trips. We went out first thing in the morning as soon as we could, which is about the time that I'm putting this drone up. And so this is kind of, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, whatever time. It was morning-ish. And so all the fog is there. So there's, but then we went back on the ship, had lunch, and then came back out in the afternoon because I think we did 2 different shore excursions. So we tried to make the most of our time in Qaqortoq, and we're able to go to like a little coffee place somewhere right on this road, actually. It's kind of hard to tell because of all the fog, and I'm getting a little lost as I look at it. But there's a main little coffee place right in here that a lot of the passengers went to. We had coffee there. We, just out of curiosity, we went into their little local grocery store and kind of checked that out, and just to see what types of things they had, that they could purchase, all the people who live here and everything. And then in the afternoon, I think we did a short excursion where we were walking around getting some history and just kind of, that perspective. And so we're always kind of fascinated by those types of tours where you learn more about the area that you're in. You notice all of the colorful buildings. Greenland, which actually today is January 1st, 2025, when I'm putting this vlog episode together. And Greenland has been in the news at the end of 2024 because of the incoming president, throwing out there that the U.S. should buy Greenland. And it sort of re-highlighted the connection between Greenland and Denmark. And so you notice all those buildings there. Now that's the Danish influence. And I don't remember exactly what currency we used, but I think we could use the Danish currency over here in Qaqortoq. I don't remember exactly, but I know I had local currency with me when we came ashore. I just don't remember what it was because it was a couple of years ago now. But yeah, putting the drone up, and here's a little tip, by the way, for anybody that is thinking about getting a drone or has a drone. Make sure you do all of your updates and your firmware updates and all of that stuff right before your trip, because at least if you have a DJI drone like I do, because DJI is kind of the main company that makes consumer drones. They're like the big one, DJI is notorious for constant updates. It's like practically every week there's an update, a firmware update or something. And there's updates to not only the firmware of the drone itself, there are updates to the controller, there are updates to the like the location map, the location database map, or whatever it is. And I've actually had situations in the past, years ago, where I went to go use the drone somewhere and I couldn't because it came up that there was an update that had to be downloaded and I was on a cellular connection and that wasn't going to happen. And then I've had other situations, like most recently in St. Martin, on the French side of the island, where I went to try to put the drone up and we were too close to the Princess Juliana Airport. And the software of the drone would literally not allow it to take off. So they've gotten more and more restrictive about that, because it uses the satellite positioning of the drone to know like where you are and what the local restrictions are with the airports and cruise terminals and just whatever other places are restricted. So fortunately, here in September 2022, Qaqortoq in Greenland was wide open. There were no restrictions, and so I had plenty of battery for the drone, and as you can see, I'm just kind of up there in the air pointing the camera at something, just trying to capture a really good kind of idea of what Greenland looks like. This is the very, very southern tip of Greenland. If you look at it on the map, this is way, way down at the very, very bottom of Greenland. And so the continent itself is massive, and this is just like the tiniest little portion that is livable and accessible, I guess you could say. There's a couple of little island things around the edges, but this is the main one.